Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Modernist Guide. This is a film review, Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's been a pretty long Thanksgiving week for me. My original videos screwed up, so re-recording. I'm just trying to catch up with all of the films and TV series that have come out, and we're going to keep coming out this holiday season. But Ghostbusters Afterlife, I think, was a very pleasant surprise for me. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm not a super die-hard fan of the originals. I like them, and I can watch them, and they're a lot of fun. But if I were to say what 80s movies have nostalgia for me that I just love to pieces, I was more of like Goonies, and my favorite film of all time is The Princess Bride, and that kind of stuff. So it was more like a hard middle for me, Ghostbusters. Nothing wrong with it. Fun, but there's no like anger of a remake or a reboot or adding on. And this film has been trying to get made for like 40 years or something ever since the second one came out, and I think like 86 or so. And I think this is a good continuation. At first, I thought maybe it was going to be very Stranger Things-esque because that's what the trailers give off, and Stranger Things is just ripping off 90s supernatural nostalgia to begin with. But it seems either Stranger Things is better at that than I thought, and this is kind of doing the Stranger Things thing, or they actually, that was just the trailer because it didn't feel that way here. I think there's a really good spookiness to this, and it very holds up the spirit of the original, just, modern film production. You can't escape that, really. It's directed by Jason Reitman, who has written and directed Thank You for Smoking and Juno, Up in the Air, and Tully. So he understands that borderline between serious and funny, and I think it works here pretty well. I never really thought this was nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. The references are sparing and feel natural to the situation for the most part. The Stay Puft Marshmallow callback is funny because of the creepy shit they do with it, less than just, haha, remember this, remember this, remember this. It doesn't really do that, I don't think. It doesn't give that off. To put it very plain and simple, if you liked Star Wars the Force Awakens, like if you enjoyed the love letter and the nostalgia feeling of that and what it was setting up for the future, regardless of what you think of episodes 8 and 9, I don't care. That's not important here. But if you first saw Force Awakens and you liked what it did and you thought that it worked and that wasn't, bullshitting you or tricking you into just cash grab nostalgia, I think Afterlife does that too very, very well. I think it does the same kind of thing. So if you like the feeling that Force Awakens gave you, then you should like what Afterlife does, unless you didn't like the original movies at all. But I think everyone's written really well. The most important thing that I want to talk about character wise, because you've seen the first two Ghostbusters, then you know how it works. So they don't deviate too hard from that. But character wise, they write kids really well. I usually hate the way kids are written, but these kids are funny and they're malleable and open, and they don't feel like just dumb kids banging their head against the wall because they're too scared of what's going on. And I don't think they have a bunch of like superpower agency that they can do no wrong either. They still fuck up. But the best part, I think, is the character Phoebe, portrayed by McKenna Grace. Her portrayal is definitely of someone on the spectrum, whether it's autism or Asperger's or whatever kind of neuroses it is, that doesn't really matter. But this is one of the first times I've seen a portrayed neurodivergent character being treated just as a person. It's not played for laughs or gags in the sense of, oh, what are we going to do with you? You're so difficult kind of stuff. That's not here, like, at all. There's not even, a stupid line where, the family's always going to have issues for a hot second and say something's like, I wish you were different or any crap like that. That's not here. She's just there, and her explanation of how she is as a person, where it's like, no, I understand that I look completely fine and normal on the outside, but inside I'm throwing up and I don't want to be here, is basically what she says to explain to somebody. To another kind of neurodivergent kid, podcast portrayed by Logan Kim is basically how I was as a kid, and I have ADHD more or less, and he put everything in a theatrical light. He narrates things and he just makes things feel like we're in a TV show or, by his name, podcast. And they just portray children, average children who just do shit very well, and I like it a lot, and it's really well done. Then, you get your old team back: Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd. Sadly, Harold Ramis passed away in 2014, but they pay a really good homage to him too. Spoilers for the rest, I guess. But they get in for a minute. They're there as more of a traditional send off. Again, not, they don't die, but a la, Harrison Ford from Force Awakens. Ultimately, though, it is about passing the torch and about the next generation. And I think it worked way better than it was supposed to. I give it a lot of credit because I had no interest in the movie and I decided to just go see it anyways, and I was pleasantly surprised. So I'm gonna give it like a 7.25. I think it's better than it had a right to be. It's very clever. It enjoys itself. I think it's not nearly as referential as people were afraid it would be, and it really cares about the characters and the story being told. And that's pretty much it for this one. Thanks, like, share, subscribe, and if not, just thank you for listening. Have a good night.